Good morning, everyone. We will be reciting the 10 Bodhisattva precepts this month. There's a handout in your chant book, and I invite you to listen and reflect on ways you've skillfully upheld these precepts, and also ways you could uphold them or embody them more skillfully. If you're comfortable, feel free to chant along as well. Ten Bodhisattva precepts. Brahma's Net Sutra. First precept. Do not harm but cherish all life. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of compassion. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Second precept. Do not take what is not given, but respect the things of others. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of virtue. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Third precept. Do not engage in sexual misconduct, but practice purity of mind and self-restraint. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of purity. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Fourth precept. Do not lie, but speak the truth. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of truth. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Fifth precept. Do not involve yourself in the trade of liquors and drugs, which confuse or weaken the mind, but keep your mind calm and clear. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of wisdom. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Sixth precept. Do not speak of the misdeeds of others, but try to understand them with sympathy. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of friendship. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Seventh precept. Do not praise yourself nor condemn others. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of respect. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Eighth precept. Do not withhold your aid, material or spiritual, but give freely of yours wherever there is need. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of wealth and generosity. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Ninth precept. Do not hold on to anger, but be forgiving. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of happiness. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. 10th precept. Do not disparage the Triratna, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but uphold them. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of faith. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. Everyone sounded great. We will maintain noble silence until the start of service. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite our incense lighters up. And if you can go to the insert with the incense offering, we can chant this together. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you all here on our holiday weekend, technically. How many of you don't have to work on Monday? Okay, not all of you, but a lot of us. I'm pretty sure I don't have a lot of problems that a 3-day weekend can't make a little bit better. So I'm grateful for this. On that note, too, I remember hearing a story that somebody asked His Holiness the Dalai Lama, "What's one thing that everybody in the world can do to make this a better place?" Kind of expecting like a really profound like bit of wisdom, and he just said, "More festivals," which I kind of like because if we would all take time to come together and commemorate things, maybe take some time off. I think we could all use a little bit of that. I have a couple start of service announcements. So anybody who has small children, or if you just need to step away for any reason at all, feel free to go through the curtains there downstairs. There's some chairs, an extra bathroom down there. There's some Legos. I remember Legos are, I think, up to 99. So I don't know if anybody's over 99 years old, but feel free. If you're 100 years old, I'm sorry. You need to stay away from the Legos. Some other things too. I know that on the holiday weekend we don't quite have as many people here, but if we do find some bigger groups that want to sit together, just kind of shift around. We can make room for everybody. We do ask that during the service you don't walk in front of the dais, and also when entering and leaving, we give a bow, and when we come to our seat, we give a bow. Like I like to say, we don't bow because we enter a sacred space, but we create that space by bringing the reverence to it. So we all have to work together to make this a cool temple. When we're chanting, chant together. Try not to chant too fast or slow or too loud or too low. With that, why don't we stand and greet each other? We'll be on page 7. We'll start with the 3 refugees. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And if you turn to the next page, we'll do the Heart Sutra. Dharma, Prajna, Paramita, Vinaya, Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all five skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to be out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Thank you. You can see that. I want to start today by asking a question that should be a simple question. There's a word that we just spoke 10, 15 times just now. It's part of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma. Now, the Buddha is pretty self-explanatory. If you look basically any direction, you'll see some image of the Buddha. Also, the Buddha just as a teacher. The Buddha aspect as in, the teachers that you may have, spiritual or educational or, anything can kind of be your teacher. Sangha is also pretty easy to grasp. If you look around virtually in any direction, you'll see your Sangha. Just about every religious organization, club, family, group of friends has Sangha. The third word's a little tougher, though, Dharma. And actually, I was hoping to ask you all so that I could find out. So does anybody here think they know what Dharma means? Yeah? Teaching or lesson? Okay. Anybody else? Duty? Okay. Anybody else? Truth? Yeah. So teaching, duty, truth. A lot of different things. I don't think if you ask anybody on the street, do teaching, duty, and truth all mean the same thing? They may be like, I don't know. Another thing about the word Dharma is it is a lot older of a word than Buddhism. It's a concept that was around in India a lot longer than Buddhism. And also, there's not really a good way to translate it into any language because it's such a broad, unique word, which is why we don't try to say something other than just Dharma because it's really tough. We just got three completely different English words trying to describe what Dharma is, so you can see the trouble there. So I'm going to do my best to try to, I guess, fumble around with that word. And I'm going to start with what was my first introduction to that word. And that was actually through a book called the Bhagavad Gita, which some of you may be familiar with. It's actually not a Buddhist text. I believe it's older than Buddhism. It's older than Hinduism. It's just a text that was around in India, where a lot of the concepts of karma and interdependence and Dharma were kind of come together in this story. I remember first hearing about this book twofold. One, I was in a religion study class when I first got to college, which a lot of us, take that class. I was probably all of 18 at this time. I'm a little bit older now. Also, if you've ever seen any Hare Krishna that go around, they have great music, by the way, but they tend to pass these out almost like they're Bibles, just like free. I actually remember when I was really young, somebody just gave me one for free. They're kind of marching down the road in the line, chanting. It's like, cool, free book. I'll tell you how I first encountered this book. I was taught, though, by somebody who was not Hare Krishna, was not Hindu, or I believe they were a Catholic, and they gave me an interpretation of it that I don't know if quite did it justice, but it went like this. So in India, there was some trouble with the passing of power, and there are two, basically, I figured they're cousins that were basically fighting for who was going to be the next leader. And it all came to a head in this great battle where they had two sides, basically Braveheart style, where they're like two armies kind of facing each other. And right before they're kind of going to go into battle, there was a prince on one side named Arjuna, I believe was his name. And he started getting cold feet. He looked over and he was like, I don't see soldiers over there. I see people. I see other people that have lives and loved ones. I don't want to go and murder these people. And not only that, but these are my family. Like, I see my uncle over there. I see my cousin over there. Like, it's not like this is another country where we can kind of, block out the fact, but these are literally like, I went to Thanksgiving with that person over there and now I have to go charge at them with my sword. So basically backing out, saying, I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. And at that point, there was a charioteer who came by, Krishna. And if you've ever seen images of Krishna, they're blue, so you can't miss them. I don't know why nobody knows. Why is there's this random blue person? But they came out to him. And basically, as I was told, they said, this is your Dharma to do this. This is your duty. You need to fulfill this duty. You need to go and you need to slaughter these people. Yada, yada, yada. They're just going to get reincarnated anyway. So why does it matter if you slaughter them all? And so at the end of the day, went and slaughtered them all. And then my teacher went on to say, and this is why we have the caste system, because, it's just their Dharma to be there. This is why it doesn't matter if you kill people, because they're just going to be reincarnated. So you should be a Catholic. End of the story. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I don't know if it was how it was presented or the fact that we're basically, this book trying to describe why we should murder our family members, justify war. And that was really my first introduction to Dharma, which it's amazing I'm still here, I guess. I don't know. But that wasn't my last introduction to Dharma. A few years later, I was studying under my first teacher. And I remember a conversation with them when they said that every moment and every person is a teacher. And in every moment and every second, there's a lesson. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I ever learned from them. They did pass away after that. And that kind of time, I was kind of floundering around, reading a lot of different things, dabbled into a lot of Taoism. I really like Taoism. Before I found my current teacher, Suji, and started studying Buddhism. But I had another sort of flaw in my thinking during this sort of interim time where I kind of felt like I had it figured out and I stopped looking. And I think it was when I thought back to those words that every moment is a teacher. And I think there's a really important thing to that. And it's really easy to say, okay, well, then every moment that comes at me, I can learn something from it. But also, it shows you that truth, that teaching, you never really arrive. Because if every moment is a teacher, then it's not like you can be like, okay, I've learned, I don't have to experience any moments anymore. The moments keep coming. So I think that's what helped me get out of that funk and learning again, is knowing that, if every moment's a teacher, I'm continuing to learn here. When I received my robe to become a priest, I remember it was a very long ceremony, about 2 hours. It's very hot. I had 5 layers of clothes on. And when I went to go put my robe on for the first time, I put it on backwards. Now, if you notice, I've got it on the right way. You're supposed to cover the left side of your arm, and then you have your kind of other arm exposed. And if you look, for instance, this is a good example right there. If you look behind you, if you see on the red, with the red border, you see Buddha speaking to all of his disciples. Now, if you look at all the disciples, which side of their arm is exposed? The right. And if you look at Buddha, the left. So we basically only expose our left shoulder when we're acting as or sitting in place of the Buddha. So, for instance, the only time that a priest would ever wear the robe the other way around is if they are basically ordaining another priest or doing a Dharma transmission, these really big ceremonies where and it's not even for the whole ceremony, they'll take off the robe, change it, perform the one ritual, and then put it back. Be like, I'm only in the Buddha in this moment, I will act as Buddha. But me and my foolishness, I put my robe on backwards and I tried to be the Buddha. And the moment that I tried to tie my ties, my tie broke and it snapped off. And I couldn't get my robe on. We had to do the rest of it with safety pins. It was a little bit of a debacle. And I can't help but think that a lot of our lessons are like that. They come too soon, or we try to do too much too soon too. And I feel like my first encounter with the Bhagavad Gita was one of those ties breaking moments. I've since come back to that text, and I think that there's a lot more to it. And I think if you see it as war propaganda, you're missing the point. When Krishna came down to Arjuna, one of the biggest criticisms they had was not that they were feeling guilty and they didn't want to go into battle, but it was their indecisiveness. It was the fact that they were not in the moment, the fact that they didn't see the connectivity of things in the moment. I think it's unfortunate that the whole story is written around a war scene. It was probably written by a man, so that explains that. But the fact that we come against these really tough times in our life, I think you can kind of see that your battlefield's happening all the time. And one thing that I've seen happening over and over in my life is those Krishna moments. When I have that sort of, I know what I need to do. This is a lesson here. It's not about the battle. This is an opportunity for me to learn. Recently, both me and my spouse do suffer from various mental health issues. Our medication cabinet is very well stocked. And my partner did suffer from an episode from recently. And when somebody you love goes into an episode and you also have, your own sort of, depressive and anxiety episodes too, you have me too. I'll join you. But I had a Krishna moment here. I'll call it a Krishna moment, even though it's not very Buddhist, where I had this thought, as we were kind of going through it, almost like a mantra, which I made the title of this talk, which is welcome this lesson. I feel like I've gotten a lot of really bad advice in my life. I'm sure all of you can hear it too. And when you're facing the war and you're seeing your family on the other side, that's not a literal war where you have to slaughter your family. I think this is a placeholder for I need to go through something that's impossible. There's no easy way to solve this puzzle through, trying to think it through or trying to reason with it, but it's facing me. And you can tell people, well, everything happens for a reason, or, we just gotta, let go and trust God, whatever those things might be. But I feel like if you see everything as a lesson and you welcome that lesson, I feel like that's the best advice you can give yourself. I don't think it invalidates the hard things you're going through. I don't think it tries to soften the blow, but when you can take it as that, it's that there's something I can learn from this. There's a moment for me to learn from this. I think it can really be helpful. Sometimes it's the only thing you can tell yourself when you're going through something really, really hard. So I'll give you that. Next time you run out of gas on the road, your spouse is, pissing you off, you get fired from your job, somebody yells at you, instead of immediately reacting to the circumstances, reacting to the battlefield that you're in, remember that this is just Krishna coming down saying, there's a lesson here. You're missing the point. See what you can pull out of that. I think it makes life a lot more interesting that way too. So I'll leave you with that. Hopefully you have some opportunities to practice that this week and tell me all about it. Why don't we take some time for meditation now? I think we can even practice this here. I know a lot of people get caught up when they're learning how to meditate that we have to sort of, close off, get into that Zen moment, and just let it click in. And I feel like a lot of things happen wrong that way. One thing is we have too many expectations of what meditation should be. And if you're learning a lesson and you already know the answer, it's not a lesson. You're going to miss it. So when we're sitting, I want you just to take whatever comes to you. If your leg starts hurting and you need to move around, if you can't stop thinking about your bills that are due, if you're just, I don't know, in la la land, don't run away from it or throw it away or try to fight against it. Don't be Arjuna, going back and forth in their mind before the battlefield. This is your lesson. Sit there with it and say, you know what? I can't stop thinking about some Netflix show that I need to finish binging when I get home, but this is my lesson right now. And what can I do with that instead of pushing it away? So you can't mess it up. I promise you. All right, I'd like to see a show of hands whose mind was wandering just a little bit at least just then. All right. Is anybody comfortable in saying what they were thinking about? All right. All right. I'm going to tell you one more story here. There was a monastery in Japan, and it was during an all-day sesshin where they were meditating for a very long time. And right in the middle of a seated meditation, there was an earthquake, and the building was very old, and the rafters started cracking, and the roof started falling in. And half of the monks, realizing what was going on, got up screaming and started running out to the field. And the other half of the monks stood firm because they knew, this is my duty. This is what I need to do because this is how we meditate. The building collapsed and killed all the monks that were there. And I'll ask you, who is more present in the moment? Those who realized there's an earthquake and the walls are caving in and acted appropriately, or those who thought, this is what meditation must look like, and I must stay till the end? If you have to pee, go pee. If your leg is hurting, move your leg and then be on with it. I think if we cling on to that, we try to hold it for as long as we can, it's going to last a lot longer than if we just go and take care of it and come back. So that's your lesson there. One more thing. The very first question I asked you was what? Yeah. I don't know if anybody realized this was an open book test. Can somebody hand me one of the booklets? I'm actually surprised nobody cheated. If you turn to page 7, and we'll read the second refuge. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. Well, there's your answer. Everything else I said was just leading to that. And I think the last line is the most important. Dharma isn't something that you realize or that you can explain or you can tell somebody. It's a cultivation. It's something that you have to do in action, a continuous learning process. It's that every day when something happens, I'm going to cultivate Dharma. I'm going to take this war. I'm going to take this illness. I'm going to take this thing, and I'm going to turn it into Dharma. I'm going to turn it into a lesson. And that's my cultivation. And through that, that's where I'll find healing, joy, and enlightenment and peace. So thank you. Why don't we take some time for joys and concerns?
This is my weekly Ben update. Our Sangha member Ben had his stem cell transplant on Thursday. So we're sending out huge meta healing, and he does watch on YouTube, but hopefully it won't be too long before he'll be on his cushion.
Today my mother is coming from a town about an hour and a half away. I haven't seen her for about a month since I moved here to Grand Rapids. So I'm really looking forward to hanging out with her for the rest of the day and see where it all goes from here. Thank you.
Over the past week, I have a joy. Yeah. I was medicated for ADHD for the first time in my life. And I just had the most focused meditation time I've ever had, and I really enjoyed it. Normally, I don't really enjoy meditation, if I'm being honest. So that was really nice.
I have a joy. I've been coming here for a little while now, and my partner is here for the first time, so that's great.
Hi. I've been trying to fix my house up so I can sell it, which has been really stressful. But I got a little bit of help yesterday, so that was nice. So it is a joy and a concern.
No one else? All right. Is there anybody online? No? Okay. Why don't we take a few moments just to hold it all in? We have excuse me. We have a few end of service announcements. First, just remember to leave the place like you found it. Kind of fluff up the cushions, make sure everything's looking straight. If we can gather all the chant books and return them to where they go. And also, everybody's invited to go downstairs and we can play with some Legos and drink some tea. I also have some May announcements. A lot of this stuff has happened already, so sorry y'all missed out. But we do have our online meditation group that meets on Wednesdays from 7 to 7:45 p.m. Over Zoom. And you can contact Kunga for more information. We also have a Thursday Dharma discussion group that meets on Thursdays from 9:30 to 11 a.m. And Ryan is the person you can find for that. 16th, and what's today's date? I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, hey, we haven't missed this yet. So we have the Avatam. Oh my gosh, Avatam Masaka. Did I do it? I don't know. Sutra study group. And it looks like they have one more meeting on the 30th from 7 to 9 p.m. here at the temple. And then we also have, let's see. We have our Buddhist-based recovery meetings. Mondays, 6:30 p.m., meditation with a 7 p.m. meeting at the temple. Wednesdays, 6:30 at the Alano Club. And then Fridays at 10:05 at the temple at Zoom. And it always cracks me up that it starts at 10:05. Don't come early. Why don't we all stand for our closing gathas? For all unskillful action ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, I now atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And if one side can meet the other, hopefully this goes better than it did in the Bhagavad Gita, but we can bow to each other. Thank you. Hope I'll see you downstairs.